Hi, Damon. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much for taking the time to come on the podcast.
Oh, I've been dying to get on.
Yeah, well, obviously we've been sending a few messages back and forth on Instagram, and thank you very much for reaching out and offering to come on. It's nice when people want to come on and tell their story.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, then. So we'll start at the beginning. If you can tell everybody where you're from and how you got into welding.
I live in a small town in the Fens, middle of, well, I say middle of nowhere, but Ramsey is quite a little market town. Um, but yeah, I say I've lived here. I've lived round the Fens all my life, but only recently moved to Ramsey. Um, but yeah, what got me into welding? Going going back, I can remember as a child, my granddad's always been into building. He used to take motorbikes, and he'd go get a Robin Reliant and he'd build trikes out of it. So he's been building trikes. So he's always down in the shed, messing around, cutting apart bits, welding them up. I'd always paid an interest in that sort of stuff. And yeah, just growing up, I was like, I've always been hands-on. So I thought, you know, I don't know where it's going to take me, but originally I was set on mechanics. So when I was at school, just as I year 10, yeah. So year 10, when you get to choose your we had three gateways for GCSEs, like top gateway, which I actually got placed in, was the academic. There was nothing college based around it, but I see that they had performing engineering operations, level two, basically your first year of your apprenticeship when you start your apprenticeship. They was offering that for the next 2 years whilst I was still at school, 1 day a week on a Tuesday. Go to the local college and they'd teach you the basics like your MIG, your TIG, and your stick welding. At the time, I thought I was applying for a mechanics thing, so I was like, yeah, yeah, all right. So I, I screamed a little bit, kicked a little bit, wanted to get moved down from that high end so I could go into that group there, so I could, get in and get to college and get my hands dirty basically. And rocked up on day one, walked into this massive workshop and looking around, I was like, I don't see no ramps, don't see none of this. What's this all about? And they handed me a set of tin snips, like, right, we're going to do some circles going around. And I was like, oh, all right, fair enough. I'll give it a couple of weeks, see how I get on. And yeah, and then they introduced us to welding, and that was it. I was like, wow, And at the time, my mum, she was working at the local. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, Stainless Metal Craft.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah, they're quite big round our way. I think they've got like 14 sections on their factory site. My mum was there as a receptionist. Couple of doors down from where we lived was one of the managing directors. So I was like, oh, she was asking me how I was getting on at college, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I think I want to go the whole way and see if I can make something out of it. And she said, well, this company here, they offer you apprenticeships and everything like that. I'll see if I can get you a factory tour. So 14 years old, he's like, come on down, we'll get you a factory tour. You can have a look around, see what's the industry is actually like. So went down there, had a look, and I was like, they've got their own apprentice school with lathes, mills, welders, the lot, and their own tutors and that. Um, so yeah, I used to go down there once a week after school, have an hour or two just in there, seeing what everyone else was learning. Um, and yeah, it just what drove me to do better at my GCSEs, I suppose. Um, and yeah, pretty much that's what started the passion for it. Um, I did actually apply there for an apprenticeship, but because I weren't the most best behaved student at school, I spent a lot more time at home than I did at school.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, that caused a little bit of trouble for my mum and myself at work. So they already knew the sort of person, I say person, but like the sort of person I was at school. So they didn't want that person. So I didn't actually get accepted there. But still, I applied for college at the same college I'd been going to through school. And the college tutor rang me up one day, said, we've got there's a small local company to where you're living now that are looking for an apprentice. Would you be interested? Yeah, all right. Just, hand me the number and we'll see what happens. And yeah, and basically I went for my interview and there's like, when can you start? So, 16 years old, all my friends are going, oh, I ain't bothered looking for work. I got college in September, this, that, and the other. I had 2 weeks sitting at home doing nothing, and I started in August. So, and then it's just gone from there, really.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. To sort of have a passion from 14 and really want something to then, obviously the rejection of not getting the apprenticeship that you probably thought you would have. But obviously the person you are in school doesn't affect the person who you are in work. But you don't really
No,
think
that's
of
it.
things at that age. You don't think, my behavior now is going to affect me further on down the line because you're just too busy stuck in your own little
Yeah,
world.
basically.
I was exactly the same. I was never the best in school. I was okay academically, but never great. Always in trouble. Well, always in the middle of anything that went wrong.
Yeah, I was
Was
always the first person that got called into the office, whether it was me or not. Do you
yeah,
know what
well,
I mean? It's always
like
like
even
you've either done
the
it or you know what's gone on.
yeah, exactly the same personality. I was always sort of up to mischief. So how did you find the transition from school to apprenticeship then? Is that something that you enjoyed being in sort of a different environment?
It was, I'm not going to lie, the first month was daunting. I can remember my first day. There I am. I moved in with one of my grandparents because she was living, it weren't even a mile down the road. So I had a push bike and I'd bike there. I can remember her saying, "Oh, enjoy," wave me off in the morning. I was like biking there nervously, rock up to the gates, and I'm walking through like I don't know who I've got to see. I don't know anybody's name. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Walking in there with my backpack, full with my overalls, my boots, my cheap little welding screen that I'd bought in preparation for it all. And then I can remember meeting the foreman, and he was like, "Right, I'll give you a tour, introduce you to all of the lads." And yeah, like I say, the first month that was like, oh, like I don't know, this is pretty serious now. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here that can cause damage, and you know what I mean. And me being as in with no experience, I feel, but as time went on, you start to grow relationships with people that are in there. One of them I still speak to pretty often. Um, he basically picked me up, took me under his wing, showed me everything he knew, and yeah, like I've always said, an apprenticeship is definitely anybody asks, 100%. Yes, I'd recommend an apprenticeship to anybody.
Yeah, because you're obviously so young as well at 16, as you said, moving into a totally different environment. And, probably what were the guys? I know you said one guy sort of took you under his wing. What was everybody else like? Were people willing to teach you? And,
Oh yeah,
obviously yeah,
everyone there, they was amazing. Like I've been back to the company since. Um, But yeah, everybody there was amazing. They see me struggling, or I stood there and I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? They'd be straight over. Is there anything that I can help you with? Let me show you. You know what I mean? It was all they was all very good at that. Like Nath, who I still speak to now, he's on Instagram. Um, he literally, him and Jamie, they're a few years older than me. I don't know exact ages, and I don't want to offend them if they do listen. But um, but yeah, Nath come over and he's like, "Look, I'll help you. If there's anything you need, come ask." And then Butch, he was like the second in command there, and he was at times very stressy. He'd shout a lot, and but he was always there, and he'd always put me on the right track, and he'd always, before doing a job, he'd go, "Right, have you worked out how you're going to do it? Have you worked out where you're going to do it?" He'd always make sure that I'd thought everything through from start to finish. And then obviously he'd come over and check on me and give me pointers on what I could do better next time, and where something weren't quite right. So yeah, I was quite lucky in the sense that with it being such a small company, there was loads of people in there that wanted to give up their time to help. But yeah,
yeah.
no,
No, that's brilliant when people are. But did they used to kind of give you a little? Did they used to wind you up as well? Give you like a long wait, and what was the other one? Tartan paint was another one they used to
I
try
can
with.
remember the foreman, me and him was packing up a job for site one day. Um, he said, "Oh, can you just run down to the front office?" I was like, "Yeah, no worries." He's like, "Can you just go in there and ask her for two lengths of fallopian tubes?" And I sat there and I thought about it. I thought, that don't sound right. I've never heard anything like that in the time I've been here. But anyway, being none the wiser, walked into reception. Yeah, Sue goes, "Oh, how can I help?" I was like, yeah, Mark's just sent me down for two lengths of fallopian tubes." She just looked at me and started laughing. I was like, "Oh no, that's going
Too
to be
late,
going around
yeah.
for a while."
Yeah, no, I think there's kind of character building though anyway, isn't it? Those funny
Yeah.
things that you remember. So how long did you spend there? Was it 3 years with a day release in
My
college or?
Yeah, my apprenticeship was 3 years, 1 day a week to college. Um, yeah, pretty much done my apprenticeship, and I got I got a bit arrogant, if you like. I was like, right, I've done my apprenticeship now. I've done what I needed you for. I'm going out and I'm going into the big world, see what else I can learn. And I think I must have worked for him for about 4 years in total, before I put my notice in and left. Then went on to another company. They specialised in pipe work, so I went in there, learnt a bit. But at the time, being so young, I was my CV must be 2 pages long. I was forever jumping from job to job to job. But one thing I never done when jumping from job to job was jump from one job that does the same as the next job.
Okay.
In my eyes, I was jumping from job to a different job to learn a different aspect of, of the I can't even think of the word now. I've gone blank.
Of
The
the trades
industry.
industry, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I did eventually end up going back, and I spent another 4 years there. It just got to a stage where I'd learned enough to know that the stuff we were sending out weren't quite right, and I didn't want my name to be on that. So then, yeah, I jumped ship and I actually went self-employed at that point, which it was a complete and utter disaster. And everyone says it either works or it doesn't, and I was one of the unfortunate ones where it didn't quite work out for me. I had a guy started messing me around with money, and I just thought if I'm going to get bit, I don't want to get bit again. You know what I mean? So I was like, I ain't going to put myself at risk. I'll go with whatever's comfortable for me, and that's it. I'll stop subbing myself.
Okay, then. So where are you currently working at the moment, Damon?
Uh, I'm at a company in St. Ives, which is 20 minutes from where I live now, called SF. We have a UK site and an Ireland site. Um, it's where I first met Gav going back. That must have been 2017 when I first met Gav there. So yeah, I've gone back there. There's been a change of management. So when Gav told me that, I was like, get me back in.
Okay, then. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what you're working on at the moment.
At SF, we mainly build box section chassis conveyors or sheet-sided. Um, but at the moment, me and Gav are currently working on together a multi-head wear platform that's being shipped to Saudi Arabia. It's huge. I think the section we're working on at the moment's only 6 meters by 5 meters. It stands 3.8 meters from the floor to the top of the deck. Um, if you could see the size of our workshop, you'd understand that that's a big, massive chunk of our workshop taken up. We've literally had to position it in the center of the workshop to get the height because we've got like an apex roof. Um, yeah, so it's a massive job. It's been going on for about 3 weeks now. We're just finished off the final touches with the handrail and the stairs. So hopefully, middle of next week, it'll all be ready to be palleted up and off to Saudi, along with the one we made last month.
Okay, so there's two identical ones, or are they slightly different?
No, the one that we done beforehand was that was 3 meters square. I think it's 3 meters high as well. Nothing major. Whereas this one's, I think, total length's 14 meters um by 6 meters wide. But yeah, so that's what we've been working on at the moment. And
Yeah.
rumor has it there's a massive 20-meter version with 135 subsections of frame to build in a few weeks' time.
Okay, then. So do you prefer kind of the fabricating side of things or the welding side of things,
Um,
personally?
Personally,
Yeah.
welding
Okay.
always. Um, that's why the dynamic of me and Gav working together works so well because he is so good at the fabrication and he is really good at welding as well. But because he's so good at fabrication, he sort of takes the lead role in that sense.
Yeah.
And then I come behind and I weld up everything he fabricated and fits up, and it just sort of works like that. We can get a nice, good flow going. But yeah, I don't mind fabrication. But if anyone said you can either fabricate today or you can weld, 100% of the time it's going to be, yeah, pass me the welder.
Yeah, I would be exactly the same kind of. I know when I went to Australia, a lot of there was boiler makers. They kind of expected you to be able to do a little bit of everything, and that was never really something I'd been interested in. Apart from college, where we used to make a few things and
Yeah,
fabricate it, there's nothing I'd ever done. So there was kind of a bit of a shock to get used to that again and get used to using squares and marking things up. But kind of, I'm not saying it's easy to pick up, but when you've done it before and you start doing it again, it isn't too difficult. But I wasn't making really complicated structures either. So, that can be very difficult as well.
yeah. No, it's one of them. Like I don't mind fabrication, and I'll do it, and I can do it. I'd just much rather be welding.
Yeah, okay then. So with regards to welding, what do you do? What sort of processes do you normally do? A little bit of everything or?
At the moment where I am now, it's just all TIG welding. Everything's TIG. But where I've done my apprenticeship, I've done mild steel, MIG, flux core, both stainless and mild steel. It's not a lot of stick welding. There's very little stick welding, but we've done a little bit of stick welding. And then mainly the other main sector was TIG. So I've pretty much focused on all areas of it between where I've done my apprenticeship and where I'm at now. But TIG's always been my go-to.
Yeah. Is that your favorite process, would you say?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So with regards to what you're doing now, is there sort of any testing on it? How are they tested?
Well, they should be, but they
Yeah.
ain't. It's one of
No.
them.
So do you just have designated fillet lengths, or what, do you have certain size fillets that they have to be, or
There is no weld
no?
symbols or anything on the drawings.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, the drawings ain't great anyway. They know that and they're working on it. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
in terms of weld symbols and what we're working to, it's just coming from what we've done in the past and what we know's right, if you like.
Yeah, if you have that knowledge and if you've done it before, then you know what you have to do.
Yeah, they just sort of give us a drawing. They're like, "There you are, lads. Get on with
Make
it."
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So you spoke a little bit about Gav. You said you previously worked together at the same company.
Yep.
When was that? Just a couple of years ago, and then you left to move on.
Yeah, that was like I said, I think that was 2018 I left there. I think I started there 2017, left in 2018. I went back to where I'd done my apprenticeship at.
Yeah.
About 6 months later, Gav gave me a phone call. Do you know if they've got any work going where you are? Because at the time, that weren't, when I say that was only point 0.3 of a mile from my house. I'm not even exaggerating. And Gav lived just over the road. So it's like, I'm fed up of traveling, fed up of the site work, this, that, and the other. Is there any work going there? I was like, I can ask, and we actually ended up working together there too. So, like I say, in the last 5 years, I think I probably spent 3.5, 4 years with Gav
Okay, yeah, because I know when we were speaking on Instagram, you said that you two listen to the podcast sometimes in the van. Is that what you
in the
said? I think
van
it
on the way
was.
to site. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in the van.
So,
We listened to Calvin's podcast on the way to site not
yeah.
so long ago.
So yeah. So what have you thought of the podcast so far? Obviously, a little bit different to what else is out there.
Yeah, that's it. Like I'd never even really thought of listening to a podcast based around the industry. And then obviously I see it on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a little listen to this. And I said to Gav, I said, oh, have you seen this? He's like, no. I was like, oh, it might be worth a listen. So every week when one goes on, we'll get our headphones in. We'll have an hour of quiet time, as we like to call it, with our headphones in, listening to the podcast and working away.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's kind of exactly what I had imagined. Not, kind of exactly what I'd imagined people just listen to when you were welding, because I would always listen to something if I was welding, even if I just had one headphone in or
Yeah,
whatever, if it was loud. Because sometimes it would drive me crazy just to be stood there all day, especially if we were welding constantly, like big butts or, a lot of welding, and I'd have to listen to something or it would just drive me insane.
yeah. No, we tend to have quiet time once a week just to listen to the podcast.
But that's good. No, but yeah, thank you very much for coming on. It has been quite difficult because some people are quite nervous about coming on, and not everybody wants to tell their story. But there's so many interesting people out there. And if there's anyone listening today, then please feel free to contact me. Drop me a message on Instagram or on LinkedIn or wherever, and come on and have a chat.
Yeah, no, like I say, I've I've been listening, and when you was looking for more people, I was like, "Oh, go on then. I suppose I better."
Yeah. Okay then, Damon, tell me what do you think? Do you have any plans for the future? What are your thoughts?
At the moment, I haven't really thought too much into the future, um, with regards to where I'm going to go. Like, if you was to ask me what my 5 year plan was, I'd honestly sit there and go, I have no idea. One thing I know is I don't think I'd ever be able to give up getting my hands dirty. I,
Um,
I've, it's one of them. I can pretty much imagine that it will be just to try and progress as far as I can where I'm at. I quite like it where we are at the minute, and the guys in there, they're all right. You know what I mean? I get on with every single one of them. Don't have any issues. They just leave me to get on with my work, so I'm satisfied in that department. But yeah, long term, haven't really focused too much on it. Um, like I say, I went self-employed few years ago. Don't think I'd ever try and chase that route again, unless obviously something serious got offered on the plate for me. But yeah, long term wise, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's something me and a friend were talking about a few days ago. You just working somewhere and enjoying working somewhere makes such a big difference in your life as well, because even though you shouldn't let it, like you probably spend, I don't know, a third of your day in work every day. So that affects your mood and that affects how you're
Yeah,
feeling and sort of what type of mood you're in. So to be somewhere that you enjoy being, you get on with the boys, you can have a laugh, you can go in, have a laugh, have a joke, have your hours quiet time a week, or whatever you do to have fun. That's brilliant, and you can't really replace that.
yeah, it's great. Like our he's not team leader, he's above team leader. Is also Gav's best mate. He grew up with him, and coincidentally, his nephew is my best mate as well. He's got like his nephew's my godfather to my children.
Ah,
So
okay.
there's a bit of it's a bit more relaxed and a bit more you can get away with a lot more. It's a lot more jokey and yeah, it's quite a fun place to work if I'm honest.
Yeah, so I don't know about yourself, but certainly me, I remember my personality kind of wasn't really suited to school, but then I feel like I was perfectly suited to being on the workshop floor, having a laugh, having a joke.
Yeah,
The things that, would get me in trouble in school kind of
yeah,
were
definitely.
fine in college and fine in work. And that's kind of when I realized, this is what I wanted to do, because the things that would get me in trouble were not getting me in trouble anymore. And I sort of get my energy off people then and being around other people and having a laugh and a joke.
Yeah, I'm quite well. I say I'm a wind-up merchant, but I like to get, I like sometimes I like to start it.
Yeah, I would be exactly the same. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so tell me, where did the Welding Dodo come from? Explain the Instagram handle to me.
Okay, this goes back to me and my ex-partner. Um, we was together 5 years or so. We ended up with she's now six, little girl together. My ex-partner already had a little girl. She was only 9 months old at the time, and I said from day one, like, I'll do everything I can to help you and her out, but I don't ever want her to call me dad. She couldn't say my name. The only thing she used to say was Dodo. So
Okay.
that is where it stuck from, where it come from, and it stuck. Even like my mum, um, my eldest daughter, she calls me Dodo. Like
Yeah.
it's engraved now. So you know, that is long and short of where it come from because I didn't want my ex's eldest daughter calling me dad. She could only say Dodo.
Okay.
So it's literally stuck like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a bit random. I wasn't expecting that.
yeah. It catches quite a few people out. I've been asked it before, and I was like, oh, yeah, I weren't expecting that either.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about Instagram then, because I know you and Gav sort of post a lot on there, and I've seen various things you do. So tell me, how did the Instagram account come around, and tell me how you came
Um,
about using it.
when I was doing my apprenticeship, there was a very good pipe fitter welder um, working away, and I used to chat to him. He was a little bit, he'd say it himself, he's a little bit crazy. Not all there.
Most welders are, to be
Yeah,
fair.
stand there and he's dancing away whilst he's welding, meowing like that was his thing, meowing at people. Um, he he was taking photos. I'm like, what are you taking photos of? As 16-year-old lad just walking around the workshop and you see some guy taking a photo. I was like, why are you taking photos of your work? Like I couldn't understand it to start off with. He was like, oh, I'll post them on Instagram. Oh,
Okay.
all right, what's that all about then? He was like, well, I'll put my work on there and then somebody across the world might see it, might like it, might comment on it. You never know. Oh, I'll give that a try then. So yeah, Gary's like, yeah, set up an account and we'll see where it goes. And from there, yeah, it's just been sort of not a habit, but I like to it's like a portfolio, if you like.
Yeah. I think I came from, well, sort of, it's just where, what industry and where you're at. So the kind of everybody who I worked with was kind of really old school and they were like, I'd never fucking take pictures of my wells, like, so that was never anything that I ever did. It was just, I hadn't even really heard of Instagram too much for welding until I started the podcast. And obviously now I've had a little bit more of an understanding, and it was never like a tool that I used, but I know so many people have found it so helpful, and YouTube and other platforms to help with welding.
Yeah, I was going to say he showed me that, and then when I met into Gav, I got Gav onto Instagram. He's like, "What are
Yeah.
you taking?" He was like, "I take pictures of my work, but I don't ever post them anywhere. Where are you posting them?" I was like, "Instagram." I'm gonna give that a try. And he's now Fronius brand ambassador for him. You know what I mean? It worked out better for him than it has for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like its own little sort of community, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. Like I'm on Facebook groups and they're toxic as anything. Someone posts a picture, what have I done wrong here? And everyone's like, "Oh, you're terrible. Why are you welding? Go
You
away."
shit, yeah.
You can see the same picture on Instagram, and everyone's like, "Oh, have you tried doing this? Like, turn your amps up or slow down a bit more gas flow." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everyone on Instagram just comes together, and it was great when February last year, Ricardo Churchill. Don't know if you've heard of
I have
Ricardo.
heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, he he hosted a UK get together.
Okay.
Um, so there was, I can't remember total, I think there must have been 70, 80 of us all there on a day, welding away, talking away. Everyone just met up. I've met people I've followed for 5, 6 years, like Daryl, Olsen Metal Art,
Yep.
um, Humweld, loads of them. Calv, that's where I met Calvin there as well. Um, yeah, so it's great because there's so many people from the UK on Instagram because it's quite a big thing in America as well. Um, but yeah, it was nice to have so many people from the UK come together, come to Sheffield, go to Sheffield to Ricardo's workshop, and have a play about, ask questions, put names to faces. Um, so yeah, like that was great. That whole event, and that all come through Instagram, like I say. So
Yeah, no, sounds great. Did you all like have a few beers afterwards, or?
yeah, well, we went up the day before to help set up, and so I
Yeah.
think Calvin came, Mac Industries was there night before, was all there getting everything prepared, having a few drinks and a laugh and everything like that. And yeah, Sphinx Industrial, they turned up on the day. It was, yeah, there was loads of people there. It was a good laugh. And like I say, there was people coming around. I think I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but his Instagram's TH Fabrications. Found out
Okay.
he only lives up the road from me and Gav. He lives in Cambridge. He's not even 25 minutes away from us. And now we speak quite a bit. He was there asking me questions like how I do my pipe butts or how I do this or how I do that, and having a play, having a little demo and stuff like that. And it was really good, like really enjoyable. And it was quite nice, like you say, putting names to faces and meeting people that, like me and you are now, that you've only ever communicated with via message over a screen.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be, it can be nerve-wracking as well, especially coming into these things and recording a podcast. Something I know you said you used to do a little bit of recording on gaming, I think you said to do.
Yeah, I used to play competitive Call of Duty.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I played Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, but since then I haven't really played anything.
Yeah, I went out, built myself a PC for it, the lot.
So do you think you've always kind of been good with your hands then, building things and fixing things? Is that something you've always been good at?
Yeah, like I say, I can remember, I couldn't tell you an age, but I can always remember going to my granddad, "Oh, can I borrow a spanner?" He's like, "What do you need a spanner for?" "Oh, my chain's come off my bike. I need to sort my chain out," or,
Yeah.
something's not right with my bike. I need new brakes, this, that, and the other. Um, so yeah, from as long as I can remember, I've always been hands-on, tool in hand, doing something.
Yeah. Okay then. So if you had to give an advice to somebody coming into the industry now, then what advice would you give?
Find the oldest person in the room and stick to them like glue. That was the thing that I found helped me out quite a bit. We end up where I done my apprenticeship. We end up with a guy, Dave. He'd done everything, boiler makers, all of this stuff, um, and there wasn't basically what he didn't know wasn't worth knowing. I could go up to him and I can be like, "How do you do this?" And he'd be like, "1 second, let me just finish what I'm doing." He'd come over, and be like developing a flat pattern for a cone. He'd come over, he's like, "Right, yeah, you just need to do this, 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 this." Walk through it step by step, and would you know it? As soon as you everything, when you follow the steps, comes out perfect every time.
Yeah.
We sort of had a bit of a laugh and a giggle. It was a deal that I'd show him how to weld because he weren't great at the welding side of things. Every time I asked him a question, that earned him 20 minutes of welding time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, bit of advice is don't be scared to ask too many questions. Asking questions isn't a bad thing, and you can't, you've got to learn, and everyone understands that you're there to learn. Don't ask too many questions. Don't be scared to ask the questions to anybody, and always carry a notebook with a pen. Write down
Yeah.
everything you're told. I think I've got 6, 7 books now filled with information. They're always there for a reference for you to fall back on in years to come. You never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah, no, I would always write my amps and stuff down because,
Yeah,
I'd come to do a job maybe 6 months later, and forgot what I was using and what exactly. Obviously, I know you can have things, but yeah, no, great. Is there anything you'd like to finish off on, or, is there anybody you think would be good to come on the podcast?
Um, to be fair, I don't really speak to many people.
Okay.
In terms, like, if that's me being honest, I'm quite boring when it comes to outside of work.
Yeah.
Um, I think Gav would be interested if you asked him.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
certainly someone I can speak to at some
yeah,
point.
he'll come on. He's quite a knowledgeable bloke and he's had quite a lot of time in the industry, so he might be worth an ask. But yeah, I couldn't think of
No.
apart from Gav, no one really. Like I say, it sounds kind of I don't know, like a little bromance.
Best friends, yeah, like the
Yeah,
in-betweeners.
yeah,
Friends.
friends.
Yeah. No, but
But yeah,
honestly, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come on. The episode will be out in a few weeks. I hope you enjoy watching it back, and listening. And,
yeah.
I hope you keep listening, keep sharing. And thank you very much for your time.
No worries.
Yep. Cheers, Damon. Nice one.
Cheers, mate.